Okay, welcome back everybody. This is week 4 and we're in our second video of this week, and we're going to cover chapters 9 and 12 of the textbook and go over a few things about the end of our course and what needs to be done before we finish our course next week. So let's start with the agenda today, starting out with some announcements, and then we'll look at chapter 9 and then chapter 12. Okay, so first I want to tell you guys a little bit about what's coming up, and then I'm going to show you really quickly how to register for the next class in case you are wondering how to do that. So just as a reminder, we've got all of our chapter quizzes and the novel quiz and vocabulary quiz that are due by midnight next Tuesday. Okay, midnight on Tuesday, August 4th. Okay, the vocabulary quiz and the novel quiz will be posted in the week 5 folder on Saturday before noon. Okay, I'm not posting it today because I want to give you a little time to do the practice activities that I put in the week 4 folder. Practice and send it to me so I can give you feedback before you take the real quiz, okay? So I'm trying to give you a little bit of time to do that, but I will post the quizzes in the quizzes folder and the week 5 folder on Saturday before noon. And so all of that stuff in there is due by Tuesday at midnight. I'm giving you a 1-day extension for chapters 9 and 12 quizzes. Okay, so those you can turn in Wednesday, but everything else needs to be turned in by Tuesday at midnight. And the reason for this is it gives me enough time to grade everything, because I want you to see your grades before the course is over. Thursday, the course, that's our last day. Thursday the 6th. So after that, I don't know if you'll be able to see your grades or your average. And what I want you to do is be able to check your averages, check your grade, make sure that everything is entered correctly. You know, because if I made a mistake, I want you and me to catch it before the grade goes as the final grade. So I always like to give students time to check their grades. So to do that, you've got to turn in your work Tuesday night or Wednesday night, okay? And then Thursday, as fast as I can, I'll post all of your grades for you. All right. Any questions about that?
No.
Everybody
No,
clear?
teacher.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Excellent. And once again, I'm very proud of you guys for putting in a lot of effort in these last 4.5 weeks. It's been challenging, but you've done great. And I hope to have you in another class in the future because you guys are star students. So let's talk a little bit about how to register for the next class. So to do this, I'm going to open up another screen for you. Okay, can you guys see this TCC home page here?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. And so on the left side of the screen, it says register for fall 2020. This is where you're going to click. It says get details about class instruction. So you click on this and scroll down to this part that says register for upcoming classes. All right, so basically it's taking you to WebAdvisor, and before you register, you need to log in. But if you just want to look for courses, you click here. It says click here to see our current class offerings. And then you go over to fall 2020. And you're going to choose from this list. Now, you guys are at the level you can do ESOL, or you can do INRW if you feel like going in there with all the native English speakers. But I recommend ESOL classes. And here they all are listed. Some of these classes have several different teachers, several different sections, and some of them only have one or two. Okay, so you would click on, I recommend writing, like I said before. We talked about writing. So here are the writing 2 courses, and you would build your schedule here. Anybody have a question? I don't know why that's beeping.
Yes, I have questions. So
Yes.
what does it mean is non-native?
Okay, non-native means you were not born in this country and raised in as an English speaker. So you're a non-native English speaker.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And W classes, which is integrated reading and writing, most of those students were actually born in this country, and they maybe even graduated high school from here, but they're still struggling with reading and writing. So that's we call them the native English speakers. So you guys are non-native. Okay. So just showing you a couple of questions.
Teacher, do you gonna teach one of the writing classes? Oh yeah, I see you there.
Right. This is mine right here. It's a level 1. And here's the thing I found out just very recently. It says the time on here, but I just talked to my supervisor yesterday, and they said it's actually, it does not, I do not have to do the class during this time. So I don't think I'm going to be getting up at 7:30 in the morning and expecting all my students to be online at 8 in the morning. It might be that most of the class, you know, their schedule, they want to do the class in the morning, and we can find the best time for everybody. It might be 9 or it might be 10, I don't know, but I just want you to know, even though you see the time here, it doesn't mean that that is the exact time that this course will be, the lessons will be given online. And like Monday, Wednesday, it doesn't have to be Monday, Wednesday. Okay, so this is confusing, and I've asked them maybe if they can remove this because it is confusing. But we will have to see. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so good question. Anybody else have a question here?
So the last will be from 6 to 8 p.m.
Speak to who? Eleanor?
The time to online from 6 to 8 p.m.
8 a.m.?
No, p.m.
It's kind of hard to hear what you're. Are you asking if the class will be at 8 p.m.?
I'm checking.
Are you going to type it in there? Okay. Yeah, take your time.
I'm tapping.
Oh, 6 to 8 p.m. My class? Or which class?
Yes.
I will only teach late in the evening like that if most of my students are available. What I'm going to do in the first week of the class is to ask everybody to email me the best time that they have to meet with the class, just like I did with you guys, right?
Okay.
And I found out, some people have the day off on Monday. Some people have a day off on Thursday or whatever from work. So I will try to the video time when most students can do it. So that being said, if I have 5 students and 3 of them really have to meet only in the evenings, I might just do the evening. If 4 students are available in the morning, then I'll probably do it in the morning. You see, so my best schedule would be between Monday and Thursday, 9 a.m. to noon. That's my best time for teaching. So I will try to do it in that time, but I don't know how it will be. Does that answer your question?
And yeah, teacher, sorry.
That's okay.
Do you want to something more?
T, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Alan.
Yes. In case I register for your classes, do we gonna have the option for like look over the session? If we like, do you gonna record the class? Like
Yes, for
this?
sure, for sure.
Okay.
I will record every lesson that I teach online and post it, just like I did in this one. I think that's very, very necessary because with the online or remote learning course, I cannot expect every student to join the live video lesson. So I will post it so whoever wants to can watch it later.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So I hope to be as flexible as I can be with the class. And also, as I said before, and this is how I'm going to do all of my classes online, I will always make time. If, let's say that you work all day and you can't come to the video lesson, uh, live video lesson, but you need to ask questions. You need to go through things one-on-one. I will make time in the evening for us to come in and into the Blackboard, collaborate, and go over some of the things together. Like, that's okay with me, one-on-one. We can just say, hey, once a week, let's get in here for an hour. I'm having trouble with this chapter, or I'm having trouble with this, or I don't understand this part of my quiz. And we can do it um, outside of my video lesson time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how I'm going to be flexible with everybody, because I really think for ESOL especially, you guys need time to really talk to your teacher and ask questions, because just watching videos is not really the best way to learn. The best way to learn is to look at it together. We go over the questions that you have, and so I will make time for students if they can't join me in the video lesson time. Okay, so that's my plan. Especially with writing. Writing is very challenging, and doing it online will be a challenge too. But there's ways that we can do it. So I think we can make it happen. There's another class called oral communication, and I was going to teach that, but I don't really want to do that one online. I think that one would just be so hard. Can you imagine trying to practice your oral communication and you can't even talk to a person face to face? It'd be hard.
Yeah.
Oh, but we'll make it through. We'll find a way to do it. Okay, any other questions about registering or what's coming up? Questions? Okay. Well, then let's get into our book, page 331, chapter 9. Okay, I have a question for you guys. You've heard me say the word inference before. Can anybody tell me what you think an inference is? Have you heard that? Inference?
Yeah, it sounds like a synonym of contrast, or not?
Contrast is like difference. Difference. I'm talking about inference, like INFER. Infer. Like make an inference, or have you heard of implied meaning? It's kind of related to
It's
that.
it's like a conclusion, no?
Yeah, it's like a conclusion, your best guess. So in chapter 9, we're focusing on making inferences and looking at the author's purpose. Okay, and I'll explain to you why that's important to know an author's purpose. But let's talk about inference first. So if you're on page 331, at kind of the top, it says inference in dark letters, and it says inference is an educated guess or prediction about something unknown based on available facts and information. So like Alan said, it's your conclusion. After you look at everything that you can see clearly, then you make a conclusion. So my definition is kind of the same, it's very similar, but I added a few things. An educated guess. An educated guess or prediction about something unknown based on information from the text and your own logic. So every time we make an inference when we're reading, we are going to use our own knowledge, our own experiences, and what we believe would be true. Okay, so we have, remember I said it's a guess. So we have to rely upon some of our own thinking. The problem is sometimes when you're reading, have you ever done this before where you're reading and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I get it, I understand. And then you find out later, no, you didn't understand. Has that happened to anybody?
Yes.
Yes, always.
Many times. That's why you're in this class, right? Um, I remember that happened a lot with my husband. He's a non-native English speaker. And when after we got married, he was taking classes, reading and writing classes and everything. I was not his teacher, but at home I was his teacher. And I remember he would read a chapter in a book. And he'd say, "Oh yeah, so that's it means this, it means that." And I said, "No, it doesn't mean that." And he's like, "Really?" And it became frustrating because you read and you think you understand it. And then you find out later you didn't understand it. So what was the problem? The problem number one could be the vocabulary. You didn't catch the meaning of those words, right? But even if you have the vocabulary and you know it, sometimes you can still get the meaning wrong. Probably because of this. This has a lot to do with this. Making inferences. Because what happens is some things you need to know are not stated in the words, the sentences. You're still expected to know it and understand it. That's why you have to make a good inference. Okay? So this chapter gives us practice in doing inferences correctly. So my next point is how you make inferences. I have two major points. Your book on page 332, your book has 6 different steps or ideas about making inferences. I kind of condensed them into 2 of the most important. So before you can make a good inference about the meaning, you need to understand the stated information. So you need to understand what's already there in the words. For example, looking up words in the dictionary or understanding the connotation of a word, okay? So you take in all the information you can of what's there for you to see, and then some things you will have to guess. Some things you will have to guess because it will not be stated, right? So you're going to make your guess, And then you have to go back and make sure your guess or your inference has support. Like you have evidence or you have a reason for making that guess. So just to show you what this looks like, I want us to do it together. Let's look at page 335. And we're going to do one together. And I chose a really short paragraph so that we don't sit here and read for an hour. Okay, look at the bottom of page 335. We're going to practice this together. Okay, are there any questions before we do the practice? Any questions about an inference? Okay, so I'm going to read the bottom. You can circle, underline things, use your dictionary, whatever you need to do. I'm going to read it. And then on page 336, there are 5 choices. And we together are going to find out which ones are good inferences. Okay, so here we go. Does everybody see where it says targeting inner city consumers? Is everybody there? Okay. Inner city, by the way, inner city means like the urban area. Like if you live close to downtown Fort Worth or in the city of Fort Worth, you would be in the inner city. Okay. So it says cigarette, beer, and fast food marketers have generated controversy in recent years by their attempts to target inner city minority consumers. Minority consumers are going to be usually people of brown or dark skin color. Those are usually the minority groups, like Hispanics, African Americans, Asians that live in the inner city. Those are inner city minority consumers, okay? It says, for example, McDonald's and other chains have drawn criticism for pitching their high-fat, salt-laden fare to low-income urban residents. Similarly, R.J. Reynolds took heavy flack in the early 1990s when it announced plans to market Uptown, a menthol cigarette targeted toward low-income blacks. It quickly dropped the brand in the face of a loud public outcry and heavy pressure from African American leaders. So basically what it's saying is what? What's happening in the inner city with marketing? Let's do a little quick summary. What are those marketers doing, those business people? What were they doing in the inner cities? Can anybody tell me?
Sorry, I don't understand.
My question? Do you understand my question?
No.
Okay, my question is, what is this talking about? Before we look at the 5, let's get an idea of what is this talking about. What does it mean when it says these marketers, these business marketers, were targeting inner city minority people? What does that mean? Anybody catch the meaning here?
No.
So I don't understand the meaning of inner city.
Inner city?
Yes.
Okay, inner city means inside the city.
Okay.
So if you ever been to downtown Fort Worth, you know, where they have the tall buildings and everything and the one-way streets, that's the inner city. So you actually have people that live there in really high-rise apartments and those types of places. That's called the inner city. So if I lived there, I would be an inner city person, basically.
Okay.
So marketers were targeting inner city minority consumers. So what does that mean?
Like people is not agree with after products or not?
Yeah, it's basically, right, this has a negative connotation. People were getting angry at what the marketers were doing. They were targeting inner city people. Okay, targeting has a negative
Oh
connotation.
yeah, I got it.
Right, think
Yeah,
of
like
targeting. Yeah, go ahead.
they put a level like in people.
A label?
Yeah, label. Is that what the
Yeah.
text want to mean?
It's kind of like putting a label on, putting a label and trying to um, influence these inner city minority people to buy products that were actually not healthy.
Okay, yeah.
Now, you might say, well, why is that a problem? Because there's commercials all the time about McDonald's hamburgers and cigarettes, or there used to be commercials about cigarettes. They actually banned those. But what's the problem, right? Well, the problem is that they were focused on this one group, of brown skinned people and trying to get them to buy this more than they were marketing to other groups. Okay, and I'm typing here. They were trying to sell unhealthy products like McDonald's and cigarettes. Basically, this is one of the ways that I would summarize this. Brown skin minorities, or um, so they might, for example, I'm just making this up, but they might have a commercial of this cigarette, right? This Uptown cigarette. Now, in the commercial, who's smoking the cigarette? Brown skin people, minority group people. They're all smoking. There's not a mixture of white skin, brown skin, yellow skin, whatever. So, and they might show whoever's smoking the cigarette, they might show them downtown, in these really crowded cities. Basically, they're marketing to them saying, "Hey, you have brown skin, you live in this urban, downtown area. You need this cigarette." That's kind of what it's saying there. All right, which is we have to be careful about that, because it's focusing just on this group, like, oh, it's easy to make them buy this, and it's unhealthy. So it's probably not a good idea to do that. So let's go back to the page. Do you guys kind of understand the meaning of it now? Any questions about the meaning?
Oh, I got it.
Okay, what about you?
Yes, I understand.
You understand? Okay. Yeah, sometimes it takes a minute to say, wait a second, what is this really saying? Okay, so now we kind of understand the text. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper, okay? Let's look at numbers 1 through 5 on page 336. In order to do this, we need to read the sentences by the numbers, and then we need to go back to the paragraph and check, because some of these are going to be good inferences or guesses, and some of these are not. So let's look at number 1. It says RJ Reynolds withdrew its ads because it was concerned about the risk of lung cancer among low-income blacks. Now, let's talk about this for a second. Look at the top of page 336. We see RJ Reynolds, and we might say, oh, this is good. This is true. But look closer. It says R.J. Reynolds took heavy flack in the 1990s when it announced plans to market Uptown, a menthol cigarette targeted towards low-income blacks. It dropped the brand in the face of a loud public outcry and pressure from African American leaders. So go back to number 1. R.J. Reynolds withdrew its ads because it was concerned about the risk of lung cancer. Well, it is true that they dropped the brand, which means they stopped the marketing. They stopped marketing, they stopped selling this product, okay? So that part is true. So you might say, okay, number 1 sounds good. It withdrew its ads, right? But look at the next part. It was concerned about the risk of lung cancer. What do you think about that?
I think that is not good inference, because yeah, the first part it's true, but
Yeah.
the other one we're not sure why he stopped the marketing of those cigarettes. And well, I think the reason was because the product was targeted for black skin people, and it was
Mm-hmm.
the reason not for lung cancer.
Right. So right there, Alan, you're making a guess based on what you see. And what we do see in the paragraph, it said it dropped the brand in the face of a public outcry. So it wasn't because the company people were like, oh, I really care about these African Americans. I don't want them to get sick of lung cancer. No, they would keep selling their brand, except these African American leaders in the public were saying, no, stop, you can't do this. You're making us all sick by selling this product, and we all feel pressured to buy it. And so it was the company really had more of a greedy or selfish intent. They were only going to stop selling it if and when the people got mad and said, stop it, you know. And then they're like, oh, okay, fine. And they took the ad off, or they stopped selling the product. Okay. Do you guys see that? T, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So all of this thought that we just put into this, all this thinking, what did we have to do? We had to look at what information we do have about, it says loud public outcry, right? And pressure. And we have to look at information that's in our own understanding. What do we know about cigarettes? It causes lung cancer. What do we know about marketing? It makes people want to buy things. So we have to use our own experience and our own kind of logic to help us make a guess. But like I say in my PowerPoint here, we have to make sure that we have support for our inference. In number 1, we don't have enough support. We don't see anything here that says that the company was so concerned about lung cancer. They were not concerned about cigarettes. You're not going to say, hey, by the way, this product is really unhealthy and it's going to cause lung cancer. Hey, do you want to buy it? You know, that's you don't do that as a marketer, right? So and by the way, that's why in the United States they banned they made it illegal to have any type of cigarette commercials because children would be watching, and it's just such an unhealthy product that the government just said we've got to stop, you know, selling this type of thing to the public. I mean, if they want it, yeah, they can go get it, but we're not going to allow advertising, you know. So, okay, so good. So number 1, we can put F, false. This is not a good inference. We don't have enough support for this. Let's go to number 2, and I'm going to give you a minute to think about it, and then you guys are going to tell me after a minute if you think it's good or not, okay? So I'll give you about a minute, read it, and then try to decide. Okay, so let's see what you think of T. What do you think about number 2?
Mm. In this, I don't.
Not sure?
Yeah.
Now, the first time you read it, you might think, well, yeah, of course. I mean, everybody buys food. But make sure you've got evidence, some type of evidence in your paragraph. So you would have to look at page 335 where it's talking about the fast food like McDonald's. Okay. So, Alan, what do you think about number 2?
I think it's also false,
Okay,
because,
why?
well, with my own logical, I think, well, it said that like the minority consumers are fast
Hmm.
food product, like they eat a lot, and I think it's false, because in the reading it said that they are like the products concern them, and I think, well, if they're fast food consumers,
Hmm.
it like people would not angry with those products because they will love it. If they eat it, they're agree with it. But the text say that they're not agree with that. Is because I think it's false.
Oh, okay. So you think because they don't eat those products, that's why they got angry that somebody was advertising the product.
Well, it was my guess.
Okay, well, hey, everybody has to make a guess based on something that they already know, right? Um, so let's go back into this. Page 335, it says, McDonald's and other chains have drawn criticism for pitching their high-fat, salt-laden fare or food to low-income urban residents. So basically, it's saying McDonald's was advertising their food to these low-income urban residents. Okay, they were advertising. Now, number 2 says low-income urban consumers are fast food consumers. So basically, number 2 is saying people who live in the urban area eat fast food or buy fast food. Okay, so again, we don't have exactly these words stated in our paragraph. We have to look at what we know from the paragraph and then make our best guess. So what happens is, let's think about advertising for a minute. Let's say that I live in a community and none of us have any children. We're just like a child-free area. If you want to live in my neighborhood, you cannot have kids. Let's just pretend, okay? um, and let's say we got an advertisement that was sent to our neighborhood that was all about children and baby products, bottles, um, baby clothes, diapers, and they were advertising every week in our neighborhood. Do you think that that would be money well spent?
No, I think not.
No, it would be like crazy. Like, why are you doing this? You're
Yeah.
wasting your money. We don't have kids in this area. They're banned. And so think about that when it comes to advertising. Companies are going to advertise to a group of people that already buy similar products or those products, and they want them to buy more and they want them to be loyal to their product. Okay. So if I live in an area where we all have a lot of kids, we expect to see advertisements about kids products because companies want us to buy from them instead of another company. Number 2 is actually true. Urban consumers are fast food consumers. We can make this inference. Why? How do we know? Because McDonald's was advertising to them. And a company's not going to spend money on a group of people that completely, the whole entire group does not even care or do that type of thing, like buying fast food or whatever. Let me give you another example of this. This is where the logic comes from. You remember a couple of weeks ago I talked about the Walmart that's in my area. I live in sort of a low-income area, lots of minority groups. A lot of people are overweight, okay? When I walk into my Walmart, I always see very unhealthy food right there on sale. Huge bags of candy, huge bags of chips, nachos, all kinds of bread and muffins and cookies and all this stuff. And why? Because the people that buy those food, they live in my neighborhoods. And so there's a lot of advertisement that is focused on them because they buy that food, and they marketers want them to buy more. So so that's something to keep in mind about marketing. So if you're getting a lot of ads and that sort of thing at your home, it's because you already started buying those things. Like, for example, my husband went to the casino a couple of times and played on the slot machines. Well, the next 6 months, we got mail all the time about the casino. Oh, we have a deal. You can get free this. We're giving away $1 million this week. Da 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 da. All these advertisements. So advertisements follow the consumers. Okay. Now, Alan, don't feel bad that you said the opposite of what. See, this is the thing. Remember, I said it's tricky because what happens is we all bring our own logic to the text. We all have our own experiences and our own thoughts. And sometimes we are, right in line with the logic of the book, and sometimes we're not. So it can be frustrating. Let's try number 3 together because we need to move on. Let's do these a little bit maybe quicker, and you guys will be doing more practice as you get into this chapter, but this is kind of an overview. So look at number 3. McDonald's salt-laden foods include burgers and fries. Salt-laden means there's a lot of salt. Okay, so let's go back to page 335. What information do we already know? It says McDonald's has drawn criticism for pitching their high-fat, salt-laden fare to low-income urban residents. It doesn't say burgers and fries, right? So does that mean we need to put false? What do you think?
I think, well, that's logical. It doesn't say anything about burgers and fries, but McDonald's produced them.
Exactly.
I think, yeah, that's true.
That is true. Okay. T, do you see that too? Number 3 is true.
That is true.
Yeah, good. Why? Because we, as people, we all know if you walk into McDonald's, you can get a hamburger and fries, and it has a lot of salt. We know that that is salty food. How do we know that? We don't have to read it in this paragraph. We already know because of our past experience. You see, so this is part of the reason why students, it's really important to get into the culture that you're living in, to work, have friends from from this country, and really get into the culture. It will actually help you when you're reading texts, because a lot of these texts in our college textbooks and the college tests, they are based on American culture. They're based on Western culture and things like McDonald's and cigarettes and alcohol and all these things that are in our culture. And you've got to know some things about it, or it's going to be very hard to make inferences. Okay? So that one is true. So number 2 and 3 are both true. They're good inferences. Let's look at number 4. These companies have never in the past targeted any specialized groups. They've never targeted any specialized groups before this, before the minorities. What do you think?
I think it's true.
Think it's true? Okay, so I always ask because remember, my second point here on the left side of the screen, make sure your inference has support. So why would you say that, T?
So I see in the sentence,
Which part?
yeah, it's 36, 336.
Oh, 336, where it says the 1990s?
So I mean number 4.
Yeah, we're talking about number 4. You said that's a good inference, but why?
So because I see they tell so in 1919 when it announced plans to marketing a town.
Okay, so 1990 is in the past, right?
Yes.
But look at number 4 again. It says the companies have never in the past targeted any specialized groups. What it means is before the 1990s. Because right here we can see that they targeted these groups, but it's talking about in the past, so before the 1990s. Like basically it's saying this is the first time, this recording is the first time that these companies ever targeted specialized groups. Can we prove that this was the first time that they targeted them? Do we have any proof?
No, we don't.
Right, we don't. We don't know what happened back in 1920, 1930s. We don't have any proof about before this situation. Okay? So, T, you would have gotten that one wrong just because you misunderstood the 1990s part and the sentence, which happens a lot. I know that's kind of confusing because it says in the past, and we know 1990 is in the past, but what it means is before this situation, before the 1990s. Okay? So
Okay.
we have to put false for that one. And then number 5, due to the outcry, McDonald's began offering healthier choices. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's false.
Yep, that's true. We don't know what they offered after this. All we know is that they started rising. Now, it is true that McDonald's has salads now, and they have, yogurt, fruit, and things like that. But in this text, it just says they receive criticism for advertising this really bad food. It doesn't give us a clue about what happened after that. Okay, so that one would have to be false. These are tricky, aren't they? Inferences are hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is one of the number one things that you will be working on the rest of your life in this country, is making these inferences about what you're reading. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be really, really good after just a couple of months of practice. You've got to read a lot, get a lot of background information, learn a lot about the culture, and practice. Do a lot of reading. This will help you with this, okay? Let's kind of move through a little bit here. Let's look at the next part on my PowerPoint, the author's purpose. Author's purpose, if you can look over at page 341. Page 341. Why is the author's purpose in this chapter? Because we're trying to guess when we're making inferences. We're trying to use any information that we can, all the information that we can find. And if we know the author's purpose, it can help us to make a guess and understand the meaning. So what is author's purpose? It's making inferences about the purpose for writing, and this is going to help you understand the meaning. So in the blank there on my PowerPoint, we need to put the word meaning. All right, so let's look at a couple of examples of author's purpose. In your book, page 341, they list a couple there, but I wrote them like this: to inform, persuade, and amuse. In the middle of the page 341, you'll see it says the statements above were written to give information, to persuade you, and to amuse you, and to give instructions. So these are reasons why authors write. Okay, so let's look at a couple examples together. Look at number 1 at the bottom of the page. Here's a title for an article. It says Changing Habits: How Online Shopping Can Change Your Life. Do you think this is the purpose of this article will be to give information, or will it be to make you laugh or amuse you? What do you guys think?
Sorry, teacher, can you repeat the question?
For number 1, I'm giving you a choice of 2 answers for the purpose. Do you think the purpose for number 1 will be to give information, like the article is going to give information about online shopping, or is the purpose to make you laugh and amuse you? We're just guessing on the purpose, the reason. Is it? What do you think, T?
Because they ask how online shopping.
Yes, that one. What is the purpose of that article? If that's the title of the article, what will that article be? Like the purpose will be to give information or just to make us laugh and be funny?
It will show us.
You said information?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be to inform. So in the blanks, you can write to inform, INFORM. So this article is going to tell you maybe 5 ways that online shopping can be really good for you, right? Or maybe three ways that it's going to change your life. This is just information, informative. Okay? Sometimes writers will write just to make you laugh and to amuse you. Let me give you an example of amusing. Look up above that, page 341, next to that little box, number 3. It says children tell it like it is, sometimes to the embarrassment of their parents. That is kind of funny. That the purpose of this is to amuse you. Children tell it like it is. Have you ever heard a child just say, "Oh, you're fat," or "That shirt looks terrible on you," or whatever? Sometimes kids just say stuff, right? They just tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it's embarrassing their parents. That's kind of a funny sentence, And so the purpose will be to amuse. Okay, let's go back down to the very bottom of the page. I want to give you one more example. Look at number 3. Look at number 3. Animals can't speak. We must speak for them. Do you think that the purpose of this is to inform or give information, or to persuade you to do something?
It persuades us to do something. I
Yes,
think.
exactly. Number 3 should be persuade you or encourage you to do something. Why do you say that? We have to make an inference here about the purpose. We can guess that because it says we must speak for them. We must, like, we need to do this. We have to do this. This is important. So it's asking you to do something. Okay. Another example of persuasion text: advertisements, commercials. The purpose is to persuade. Right? I want you to buy this hamburger. You need to buy this product. Okay, so let's do this one. What is the purpose of our textbook that we've been reading? What's the author's purpose?
Improve or reading skills.
Yeah. And is it to persuade or amuse us or inform us?
I think it's for two things: inform and persuade. How's that?
Persuade?
Persuaded us. Yeah.
Okay, why would it be to persuade us?
Because it make us feel like reading, like it said, oh, okay, read this article, or it give us a few articles that we need to read to complete
Oh, I
a
see.
few articles, a few questions, and well,
Right.
it persuaded us to read.
Oh, I never thought of it that way. I always think of textbooks as to inform only. But it is kind of persuasive because it's giving you, here's the blank line. You need to find what goes in the blank. Check your answers with your teacher or whatever. You know, here's a practice test that will really help you. Yeah, it is a little bit to persuade you to work, to put some effort into it. But the main purpose would be to inform. So to inform would be the main purpose, and then maybe a minor purpose would be to persuade. It's definitely not here to amuse you. So if you have a vacation time and you want to go to the beach and you want to read a book at the beach, you're not going to bring your textbook, right? And drink a pina
Right.
colada at the beach with your textbook. Everybody will look at you like, what? Why are you reading that? No, amusing things would be like magazines or cartoons. You know, some people read, like my son reads graphic novels. He just likes the pictures, he likes the story. That's amusing, kind of a amusing purpose, okay? So I do not want to see you guys on vacation reading this book. Because this book is to inform you. This is more formal, in a classroom type thing. So anyways, there is more information you guys can read on page 343 to 345 about the audience, like who is going to read this, and then connotation, which we've talked about before. So there's a couple little practices you can do in there. My advice is to do the first 3 questions in every exercise and then check your answers. You don't have to read for hours and hours and do all of the exercises. Just do the first 2 or 3 and then check your answers. If you got them all wrong, you probably need to go back and do more, right? But if you're getting most of them correct, then just keep going. Go to the next one. next exercise. Okay? All right, any questions before we go to chapter 12? Any questions about inference or purpose?
It's not about it, but
Yeah.
I want to ask you something, teacher. Is it our last class or last video session?
Yes, this is our last video. Yep.
Okay. I'm asking this because I have to go take another class.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you can always come back and watch this. I'll post it in Blackboard for you, okay?
Okay. Thank you, teacher. I hope
All
see you
right.
in the next class.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Take care.
You too, teacher.
Okay, bye. And T, do you have any questions? Do you have questions about chapter 9 before we look at chapter 12?
So, but I have to go at 11:30.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
but I have a question at the chapter 8.
Oh, of chapter 8?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay, sure. Go ahead and ask me since you're here. That's fine. You can
Yeah,
ask.
I have a little bit confused between the comparison and contrast.
Okay.
So the comparison is mean similarities, right?
Yes. Yes.
Mm,
Yes. And contrast is the differences. So do you want me to give you an example or do you have a specific question to ask?
yes. Can you give me example?
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's talk about I like to give examples from family because we all have people in our family. So let me give an example of my sister and I, okay?
Yes.
So my sister and I, and I'm going to do comparing and then I'm going to do contrasting. So comparing would be similarities. So my sister and I both love to eat healthy food. That's comparing. I'm giving similarities. She eats healthy food and I eat healthy food.
Mm-hmm.
Also, my sister and I love to outside and exercise. So we go together, we go walk in the park or we ride bikes or go running. We both like to do that. So that's a comparison. Okay. And contrast would be differences. So let me give examples of contrasting. So my sister is very outgoing and talkative. She likes to talk to everybody all the time. I am different. I like to be more quiet and by myself. Okay, so that's contrasting.
Okay.
This is how we are different. Another difference would be um, my sister has long hair and I have short hair.
Mm,
That's the difference between us. So that's contrasting.
okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
All right, so that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Okay. Thank
Um,
you.
so I'm going to keep talking, but you are free if you need to go, just go ahead and go, and you can come back later and finish this part of the video. Okay?
Mm,
Okay, do you want to stay till 11:30 or do you want to go now? Which was better for you?
Um, the 50 minutes is enough.
Okay, finish in 15 minutes.
Okay.
So we're talking in chapter 12, if you want to look over page 447. We're talking about an argument. An argument, okay? So what is an argument? Well, when we're talking about reading and something that's like in a book, an argument is an opinion that's followed by reasons or evidence. And your book breaks it into three parts: an issue, a claim, and support. So one argument is supposed to have these three things. Okay? Every argument should have an issue, claim, and support. So an issue is just the topic. The claim is your or someone's opinion about the topic. And the support is the sentences that give you the reasons why they believe that. Okay, so I want to show you an example on page 451, and I will show you these three parts. Page 451.
Yes.
Okay, look at number 1.
Yes.
We're going to look for the topic, the claim, and the support. We have 3 sentences here for number 1. One of the sentences is going to be, it's going to have the topic and the claim, and another sentence is going to be the support. And then one of the other sentences will not be good for this at all. So we're only going to look at 2 sentences that are good together as a complete argument. So look at the first one. Year-round school is advantageous for both parents and children. So going to school throughout the whole year, 12 months, is really good for parents and children. Okay? The topic is year-round school. That's the topic. The claim is this school is advantageous or good for parents and children. This is someone's opinion right here. Another person might say, no, it's not good. It's not advantageous, right? So this is one person's opinion about the topic. So this one, number 1, this is the argument. Okay, the first sentence. So we can put that this is the claim. It has the topic and the claim in the first sentence, okay? Now look at the second sentence. Continuous year-round application of skills will prevent forgetting and strengthen students' academic. Wow, these are positive things. These are positive things about continuous year-round school. So going to school here will help the students to remember things, and it will strengthen their academic preparation. So this is a sentence of support for the claim. So the first sentence is the claim, the second sentence is the support. So this is creating a good argument right here. We've got the issue, we've got the claim, and we've got the support. Okay, do you see that so far, T? Do you understand?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Look at the third sentence. Year-round school may be costly to school districts. Is that something that's going to support our claim?
I think this
Yeah,
claim.
it's not going to support the claim. This is something is negative. It's saying that year-round school is not good, right? And it's talking about school districts, but that's not our topic. We're talking about year-round school for parents and children. So we can put an X in that blank because that's not part of the claim or support. Okay, so this is a little practice. When you have time, you can come back and do more. There's 3 sentences. One will be the claim, one will be the support, and one will not be good. You just put an X. Okay, So that can give you some more practice in looking at that. But arguments are basically just statements about someone's opinion. Okay?
Yes.
Any questions about that so far?
So I I I don't understand yet, but I will be do more
Yeah.
assistance.
Yeah. You can come back and look at just a general part to it.
Okay.
Make sure when you're looking for that it is an opinion. Sometimes you'll see words like should or have to, or, like if I say ESOL students should have classes on the campus, that would be an argument because it's my topic of ESOL students, and I have my opinion. They should have classes on campus. And then after that, I can give my support. Why? ESOL students need to talk to the teacher face to face because it helps them understand.
Yes.
And ESOL students need more time to ask questions in class, So I can give my reasons why. That would be the support for my argument.
Yes.
Okay, so that's kind of the basic idea for that. Now, let's look at this argument that I put up here on the right side. And we're going to talk about how do you know if it is good argument or not. So this is my argument. California is a bad state to live in because Texas is better. Now, when you first read that, you think, oh, okay, it's got a topic. We're talking about California being a good state to live in. And then I have the opinion. The topic is California or living in California. And the opinion is it's a bad state to live in. It's a bad state to live in. That's the opinion or claim. Okay. Now, I give support. My support is because Texas is better. So if you look at it, you think, oh, well, maybe this is a good argument. I have my opinion, I have my support, but it's actually not good. This is not a good argument. It's not really valid. Why? Because I can't just say, well, Texas is better. California is a bad state because Texas is better. Just because Texas is better does not mean California is a bad state to live in. That's not really a strong argument. What if I said California is a bad state to live in because it has the highest crime rate of any state in the United States? Okay, maybe that would be better support. Or if I said California is a bad state to live in because it costs a lot to live there. The cost of living is the highest in the country. That would be better support. But Texas is better. This is not really good support. It's not really giving me any specific information. So here's my next point. How do you know if it's good support? How do you know if you're giving good support? So let's look, for this part, you're going to look in your book on page 453. 453 all the way to page 461. This is all talking about support for arguments. So I'm going to go through these really quickly, and then you can read more later. But how do you know if it's good support? The support needs to be relevant. That means it has to connect to the topic.
Yes.
Over here, I'm focusing on California. But why do I mention Texas? That's not really relevant. I want to focus on why California is bad. Is it the crime? Is it the cost of living? Is it you know, what is it about California? So I don't need to mention Texas. That would be not relevant to this situation. Support also needs to be sufficient. Sufficient means it's enough. You have maybe 2 or 3 reasons that would be enough to support an argument.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about these two so far?
No.
Okay. And then the third one is to present a counter argument. This is a good thing you need. You want it to be relevant. You want it to be sufficient. These are good things. And you want your argument to have a counter argument. Counter argument means you're showing that you understand the other side, the other opinion. So that would be like California is a bad state to live in because it has a high crime rate and it's very expensive to live there. Okay, that's good so far. I can also say some people think California is great because it has good weather. Okay, that's the counter argument. Some people think California is great because it has good weather and it's right next to the beach, the ocean. That's a counter argument. So it's something that's good about California, but, and I have to go back to my point, but it's so expensive to live there that you can't even enjoy the weather or the beaches. You know that.
Right.
So yeah, I'm presenting a counter argument, but I'm still going back to support my opinion. Okay. And so this is good to do in an argument. And then the fourth thing that you want to do if you're making or having a good argument is you want to avoid these errors in reasoning. Page 459. Actually 458 and 459 both have examples of errors in reasoning. So this is kind of basically what people try to do to convince you of things, but it's not good. They're just appealing to your emotions instead of giving you really good evidence. And I'm going to go through a couple of these examples on page 459. So number one, this is an example of an error in reasoning. Okay, number one, page 459. Laura Bush, wife of President George Bush, recommends the book Beloved by Toni Morrison. It must be very good. So this is a problem. This is an error in reasoning because it's saying that, hey, this book is probably really good. Why? Because Laura Bush likes this book. That's sort of like this example about California. California's a bad state to live in. Why? Because Texas is better. That really doesn't help me. That doesn't explain anything. Laura Bush really likes this book, so it must be really good. It's probably the best book in the world. No, that's not a good argument. Just because one person likes it doesn't mean it's a good book. Okay, so this is an example of what we call false authority. Laura Bush is a wonderful person and she's a famous person, but she doesn't really have authority on all the books, on whether they're good or not. You know, she's not really a person that you can look at to say, oh yeah, you know, this is a good book just because she liked it. No, we can't say that as a good argument. Okay, so that's called false authority. That's an example of an error in reasoning. Okay, so T, why don't you go ahead and you can go ahead and go now if you want. I don't want to keep you. I'm going to keep talking and then you can come back and watch this whenever you're ready, okay?
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for being in my class.
Thank
And
you. Thank you for this meeting.
Let me know if you have any questions. I'm still here, okay?
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let's continue talking about errors in reasoning, page 459. We're looking at number 2 next. It says, we must preserve our historic neighborhoods in order to save the memory of the hardworking men and women who built our cities in their sweat and blood. So we must preserve our neighborhoods. Why? So the support is to preserve the memories of these men and women that worked hard to build it. Okay, this is an appeal to your emotions. It's trying to get you to feel good. Oh yeah, we need to do this because people really worked hard on this. And this is going to be an example of D, letter D. It's appeal to common folk, which means it's like, oh, just normal, regular people contributed to this or they like this, so we should like it too. It's an appeal to common folk. This is an emotional appeal. It's not something that you want to base your opinion on. This is not really, really solid evidence. Okay? So again, these are things that we want to avoid when we're reading. We want to say, wait a second, this is not good support. Okay? Let's look at number 3. One more example. Don't go to that restaurant. Why? Okay, so now I'm giving the support. The owner can't even keep her garden growing. Now, you should think for a second, wait a second, we're talking about going to a restaurant, and the support for this, it's talking about the owner's garden at their house, their personal garden. Why is this support? This is not good support. This represents an error in reasoning, and it's letter E. Letter E, and I think this is Latin, possibly ad hominem. I don't know how to say it, but this is when you kind of defer or deflect a statement, like away from the actual issue, and you try to make someone believe something that really doesn't have to do, the whole idea doesn't have anything to do with your point. So let's go back to number 3. Don't go to that restaurant. So we're talking about eating there, the food. But it's deflected. The support is going off topic. It says the owner can't keep her garden growing. I don't really care about the garden that she keeps at her home. That's not really important to my issue. My issue is about the restaurant. So I want to look for good support of why that restaurant is good or bad. And it says don't go to that restaurant. Well, why? So good support would be people get sick after eating this food. That would be good support. Or good support would be the waiters and waitresses are very rude to the customers. That would be an example of good support. But this support in number 3 is not really relevant to the topic. It's trying to create something that's not related. So if you look at the top of page 459, this type of argument, it attacks the holder of an opposing viewpoint rather than his or her viewpoint. Okay? So it's not really focused on the restaurant itself. They're trying to attack something that's personal about the owner. Okay, so once again, that's an error in reasoning. We want to avoid writing these, and we need to recognize them when we're reading them. Okay, so basically, when you're looking at arguments in a text, you want to look for an opinion that's going to be a claim. And then you need to look for really good support, because sometimes on tests, it will ask you, is this claim well supported? Or is this statement relevant to the claim. So we need to be able to recognize good support for claims. Okay, if you follow these 4 criteria right here, you will be able to tell if it's good support or not. Okay, and let's go to what's next. I need you to get ready for our final week of the course. Okay, so what you need to do for the next week is to complete all your quizzes and the labs by next Wednesday at midnight. Grades will be posted 24 hours after you finish submitting your last quiz or assignment. And I need you to do the course evaluation, which is located on the left side of the screen, the Blackboard screen. And I put this a picture of this in my last video, so if you can't find it, go to the week 4 video, the first video, and I showed you where to do that. So the course evaluation is just a survey of our class. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes to complete, so please do that before next Thursday. And the last thing you need to do is register for your fall classes at least 2 weeks before the start date. If the class does not have enough students in it, they will cancel the class a week before the class starts. So if you try to register a few days before the class starts, it's going to be too late. You need to register at least 2 weeks before the class starts. So the best time to register is now, all the way up till about August 10th. August 10th, 11th would be probably, you need to make sure you do it before then, okay? So thank you so much, guys. Great job. I want to thank you each for being in my class and all the effort that you put into this class. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your summer. I'm still here if you have questions. Just email me, let me know. We can talk about things. We can also come back here in Blackboard and look at things more specifically if you need to. Just send me an email. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your semester and good luck to you in your academic adventures.